Making that it's up and running. Yes, hello, my dearest peace lovers and peacemakers. Welcome to Peace Mindedly podcast, another episode. We are talking about peace, kindness, compassion with our peaceful bridge makers. It's my promise that for our YouTube channel and for the visual discussion, I go at to the heart of the programming and start whatever we need to take care for the time being. Today, we are talking with two executives about Halal Expo. Halal Expo is a new phenomenon, and they are going to explain us what that is and what's the implication and significance of Halal Expo. But very quickly, something important is happening in the global market, and that is Muslim purchase power. So a Muslim has been gaining more momentum. It has been many years, has been at least about 22, 25 years when the middle class in the Middle East and in many parts of the world has expanded significantly. So they are gaining momentum to have a say on the global market. And so therefore they do have this agency to insert some of the areas that they do believe must be included within the global market. So for that, we have two people who are going to explain us exactly what's happening. For disclaimer, I need to mention that Go2 News is partnering with the Halal Expo and Summit USA 2021, and I may have a chance to speak in their summit. So to be just transparent about our discussion today. We do have Marwan Ahmad. Marwan is the president of American Halal Council and organizer of Halal Expo Summit, CEO of US Halal Consultant. Very good to have you here, Marwan, and I'm glad that you are making the time.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for the invitation and having us on your peaceful podcast. I think it's what you're doing is important for the community and the environment and even the industry.
Absolutely. And we're going to cover all of that. And with that, we do have beautiful Elisabeth Myers. She is a co-founder and executive vice president of US Halal Consultant. She also organizes and hosts Halal Expo and Summit USA. And it's been for a few years. I believe it's been about 4 years, isn't it?
Yes, this is the 4th year.
Excellent. Yes. So very exciting. First of all,
thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's very good to have you here, Elisabeth. So I'm going to start with you. Can you tell me what is halal?
Start with me? Okay.
Yes.
So
yes.
halal is, it's fundamentally a religious concept in Islam. And it actually, a lot of Americans tend to think it just applies only to food and about how you slaughter animals. But in fact, it's much broader than that. It's about really a way of life for Muslims that incorporates and embodies a system of ethics and principles that are supposed to make your life and other people's lives better, fairer, reacting appropriately to things, paying your employees fairly, not harming the environment, not being humane in your treatment of animals, whether you're raising them or slaughtering them to eat them. So it encompasses a large body of ethics that really govern every aspect of a Muslim's life, essentially.
Muslim's life. Excellent. So when I heard halal, I got too excited because somehow in a way I incorporate halal and minimalist, like minimal living within the same basket. So growing up back in Tehran, it was, and of course it was war and revolution and all of those, this idea of, don't waste or be mindful has been just incorporated in my life. So do Marwan, would you see that there are lines, correlations between halal and being minimalist, like don't waste and don't go extravagant?
It definitely correlates between the two concepts. And even though, like you mentioned and Elizabeth mentioned, it's about being ethical and good to your community and your environment, uh, and it incorporates the simple way of life. But the market itself, it's very big and growing rapidly, especially in the US. So yes, the two concepts do go hand in hand, but there's so much to it as well.
Tell me more how the market is growing so fast in the US. How do you know, Marwan?
Well, from organizing the Halal Expo and Summit the last 4 years, or in our fourth year right now, we do see the growth in both the demand by consumers as well as the supplies, and the companies are producing and offering halal products and services, because halal could be a service, by the way, not just a product. In many different sectors. People think of halal in terms of food usually, but it's more than that. It is cosmetics, tourism, finance. It's everything around us. It has to be good and halal and ethical. So
Ethical, good, and halal. And isn't that exciting? Isn't it exciting to see, honestly, that, Muslims do have a say on the table, and then they can actually, in fact, impose some of the areas of their interest. I mean, I think it's very exciting. I mean, how would you see it? Any of
Well, let me jump in here because I do think it's exciting, and I want to bring in another concept of tayyib. I'm probably saying that wrong, but it brings in a notion of wholesomeness, of healthiness, of all of the good things in life that you would want for your own self, your body, your family, your children. Um, Fairness as well, and justice. Those are the notions that are incorporated under tayyib. And so that's an important consideration as well that people should know about. And frankly, this is my third year working with Marwan on the Halal Expo and Summit. And I've learned a heck of a lot over the last 3 years about the what how a Muslim is supposed to live in a halal way, in a healthy way, in a wholesome way. And that's why, certain things are considered to be forbidden or haram because they're not good for you. Like alcohol.
Mhm.
Alcohol, some people simply cannot tolerate it, and it makes them violent. It makes them a little crazy. And so that's one of the areas that Islam, the religion of Islam, decided that it should not be. It's not halal. It's not healthy. And so
Isn't
there
this,
are other things as well.
yes, but isn't this like a trend? So to speak, the whole idea of wellness and paying attention to
Is
health and paying attention to this and being wholesome. So isn't this a trend? And or is it really something that Muslims has been practicing, and now they have have had a space to impose it, or not impo- I mean to recreate in a global market. So is it a trend, or how come and then this halal phenomenon has gained momentum within the global market?
well, it might be a trend in the West, but it has been a trend for 1400 years within Islamic theology and practice. Like you mentioned, it's an opportunity now to share this with our fellow Americans, to show them that Islam is all about goodness to self, community, and to the environment. And I mean, as simple as our greeting, it says "Assalamu alaikum," peace be upon you, and this is how we start any conversation. Then it goes from there. Everything we do in life has to incorporate halal and tayyib, which is goodness, like
Mhm.
Elizabeth mentioned.
Yes. So what's happening in Halal Expo and Summit 2021?
Oh
Yes,
goodness.
Elizabeth, or anyone. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, we're good at this. We're a tag team because we've been doing this an awful lot over the past few months. Um, we have a lot going on. As Marwan mentioned, there are many other aspects of the halal market and industry that we focus on. So we have a number of different panels of experts who are going to discuss things like Islamic finance, halal tourism, and what that means. And basically, that means family-friendly tourism. Where can you go that you're not going to be subject your children to a lot of drunk people, or where women can feel comfortable going into a swimming pool without harassment, things like that. So there's that. There's what else have we got? We got so many areas. We have a panel that's called Beyond Design. And that is about the modest fashion industry. So that's beauty and modest fashion. And we will have some experts in that area to talk about whether and how designers in modest fashion can actually penetrate the mainstream market. So there are a lot of aspects of halal. I'm sure I'm missing something because my notes are on the computer. And
I'm going
trying
to
to look
leave
at
it the rest to Marwan to tell us what's
yeah.
happening. What else is happening in Halal Expo?
A lot of things happening actually. The event is becoming so dynamic. From the first year we started to incorporate so many different angles, like Elisabeth mentioned, tourism, finance, fashion, modest fashion, of course, food and beverage. Um, the
Certification.
expo itself, yes, and technology. We introduced the term halal technology actually to the event.
What is
in the
halal
first year.
technology?
Halal technology, that's anything is family friendly
Uh-huh.
and wholesome and clean, and you don't have to worry about using that technology that's going to harm you, your family, or your community. So there are so many elements that's going to happen in the Expo and Summit. One of them is cooking demos by different companies to sample different halal food. The Expo itself, for different companies participate, not just from the US. We have a number of international companies who will be with us in this event virtually and hybridly. And when we say hybridly, we also invented the term hybrid expo. So there is a challenge that some companies face coming from Asia, especially Africa and other countries. It's not easy to get a visa to the US because either a COVID or restriction on visas. So they can attend our event through hybrid exhibition, where they send us samples of their products to share with the attendees, and they will be able to talk to them on a virtual screen.
Excellent. So Marwan, I'm going to play devil's advocate. You say halal technology. And you say that the halal technology, okay, so not harmful against family and not harmful against, individuals. But here's the thing, who is going to decide whether or not what is harmful and what is not harmful? And where I'm coming from Iran, states decided for people and decided for women. So what is your answer about if I say, okay, so by saying that not to be harmful or sort of regulating, you are coming from an authoritative point of view and trying to control and regulate what's happening in halal technology?
One thing we decided when we started the American Halal Council, which is it's an organization that's nonprofit focusing on education and advocacy, is we're not going to dictate to people what is halal and what is not halal, what is halal, what is haram. Each person can decide.
What is haram? What can tell me what is haram for
Haram
those?
is the opposite of halal, anything that's forbidden. In Islam. So people can decide for themselves. We're not going to dictate that. Each person can be their own, mind, have their own minds to make decisions. And in Islam itself, there are different way of methodologies, or we call them madahib. So each one can, based on their madhab or method of practice, can decide if this is halal or haram for them. We don't dictate to anyone.
But you give halal certificate to basically, bring them into a standard of halal. So therefore, you're deciding, aren't you?
We don't actually give halal certificates. We only educate.
Uh-huh.
We allow people to network, and there are specialized bodies, we call them halal certification bodies, who do
Mhm.
offer these certifications.
Uh-huh.
The recognized halal certification body have to be accredited by an international body. It's called CIMIC, which is
Mhm.
based in Turkey, and another body is based in Malaysia. Those are the main two halal standards, and they are run usually by governments. But
Mhm.
for us, we're not involved in this process.
You're
We're
not
just
involved in this process, but I was asking in general, just gearing this subject. Right now, we are in such an international platform at the moment. So I'm from Iran in the U.S., Palestinian in DC area, American in Morocco, and so forth. So I'm wondering,
Right.
what are the advantages and disadvantages of having Halal Expo in the US, or let's say in Dubai? What are the advantages and disadvantages, Elizabeth?
Well, the Halal Expo in the US focuses primarily on the US market. And there are both Muslim and non-Muslim businesses that are producing halal products, such as meat, for example. And in fact, the US is one of the largest exporters of halal meat to other parts of the world. So, because there is no other comparable professional Halal Expo and Summit in the United States, we're performing a very valuable function of bringing businesses together in a forum and a platform by which they can transact business. So, and in conjunction with that, we also have US Halal Consultants Group, which is a membership of um, a consortium membership of experts in the various aspects of the halal industry, which can include certification, accreditation, which Marwan was just talking about, can include standards for what halal is, has experts in tourism, experts in finance. And so what we are able to do is help people and businesses who want to be in the US industry, the US halal market, and whatever they want to produce, whether it's chicken or providing halal meals to schools, for example, and halal ingredients to schools. We serve as a bridge and kind of an aggregator where we can bring the parties together to do the business transactions they want to do. And
Business
then that's
transaction and the things need to do, that's amazing. But Marwan, wouldn't you think that if we were in, let's say in I don't know, Saudi Arabia, or wherever, I mean, one of the in Indonesia, we didn't have to just explain so much about what is halal, what is not halal. People already knew, and we didn't have to put too much effort. So wouldn't you think that it was a bit easier? So, and what is the advantages of being in the U.S. and being in the U.S.? I have to correct myself that I explained we are all Americans, but in different areas. But here's the thing. I mean, so what is? I mean, wouldn't it be easier to be in a Muslim country to do halal? And since we are not in a Muslim country and doing this business, and it's a U.S., what is the advantages and its disadvantages in your opinion?
it's funny you mentioned this because you would think that people in the Muslim world know exactly what is halal and what is not halal or haram. Because I had a conversation with somebody from Jordan a couple of weeks ago, and they're asking me, so why do you have to do this event? Why do you have to educate people? And we told them because we're in the US, people may not know the term or have heard of it, but don't know exactly what it means. And when I went into more details into what we're doing, they realized that they themselves did not understand what is halal in the market. And they only think of it in the aspect of food and meat. They never thought of it in terms of cosmetics, for example, or finance, or tourism. These terminologies and concepts are even new to some Muslims, because sometimes you think you know something from the surface, but you don't dig deep enough to understand it. And this is our advantage in the US, where we have the experts and knowledge and ability to have this conversation and not educate ourselves and our fellow Americans, but also educate our fellow Muslims around the world who may take the word or term halal for granted.
Yeah, take it for granted. But
Mm.
here's again, devil advocate, advocate this time, Elizabeth. So wouldn't this be just, I mean, for the sake of making it easier for lazy Westerners and lazy Americans to just, label them. Okay, label them. You know what? This is a Muslim way of living, and this is halal, and this is what we mean to do this in order to classify it, organize it, and make it easier to understand.
Well, that's exactly what we're doing with the summit part of it, with the speakers that we have in many of the different areas. You know, this was sort of going to be my closing remarks, but I'm going to say it now. One of the reasons that I got involved with Marwan, we had worked together on a different project before, but one of the very important reasons that I agreed to help him on the summit and the education part of things was he brought me in at a time where there was a huge amount of Islamophobia in this country that had been stoked by certain members of our federal government, certain leaders in our federal government. We have not emerged from that Islamophobia. We've just seen with the anniversary of 9/11 that we just had that Islamophobia is still around. And one of the best antidotes to a phobia like that, which emanates from ignorance, is more information. And so that's what we're doing. We're providing more information to people who want to learn about what is the Muslim way of life, what concepts and principles do they live by, and they're really not so different from the Christian principles that people are much more familiar with in the country, or even the Jewish principles. So we're concerned about the community, concerned about treating people and the planet, in a fair way, in an ethical way, and not doing harm. And so those principles, how do they play out? They play out in business in ways that we've already discussed. For example, in tourism, in food, in how you slaughter an animal in the first place, which is, and there are also, as Marwan says, there are different schools of thought in the particular methods that some Muslims follow. So another very important advantage of us doing this here in the United States is to try and advocate for some kind of standards that can be applied, not by a government imposing, like, for example, the Iranian Revolution, and now, as you put it, the government imposes all those standards, but by a consensus, and then the parties who are involved in that way of life coming together and creating some standards by which businesses can comply with what is supposed to be halal. Because the last thing we want is for someone or a business to represent that something is halal and it really isn't halal.
Mhm. But here's the catch again. We've been covering Halal Expos forever, so it has been happening in Japan, in Indonesia, in GCC countries, in many other places, in Germany, in UK, in many places, and yet again we just had, and this year is the fourth year. So Marwan, don't you think that we are a bit behind?
Yes, we are. Thank you for asking that. Even though the US is one of the largest exporters of halal meat in the world, we have not organized ourselves until the Halal Expo Summit started. But it's better late than never. And back to your question, why does should the average American care about halal? Well, halal is not for Muslims. Halal is a good way of life, a clean way of life, a family-oriented way of life, and we were here to share it. We're not here to impose it, because we care and love our fellow Americans. We want them to be aware that this concept exists and it's good for them. And what's interesting is the non-Muslims we talk to about halal, they have a very positive reaction when they hear the word halal. They are familiar that it's a good thing for them. They may not know the details, and that's our job, is to deliver the details. But they have already this positive reaction when they hear the term halal.
Yeah. So wouldn't you believe that we are talking about Halal Expo and Halal lifestyle and Halal market and Halal industry is because Muslim has gained purchase power in the global market. They have become spenders, so therefore they can impose their own criterias within the larger global market, Marwan.
Absolutely. Especially here in the US, the average Muslim family's income is higher than the median income in the US. Therefore, they spend a lot more money. Well, more money, I can't say a lot more money on goods and products and services, especially in certain areas like international travel, modest fashion, which is becoming more, mainstream. When you during Eid, especially, you go to Macy's sometimes and you see, modest fashion and Happy Eid sign at the door. This is the influence of purchasing power. Companies
I
start
would,
listening to us.
yes, that's where I was
Elizabeth,
going to
yeah.
go. That's where I was going to go exactly. I would not say it's imposing any kind of standards. What it is, it's consumer demand. And it's not just Muslim consumer demand. You mentioned earlier on about a trend in health and wellness and all of that. Well, many of the large chains, like Whole Foods, for example, are recognizing that halal is a part of the wellness um, trajectory. I wouldn't call it a trend because I don't think it's just going to go away. It's not something that's temporary. I think it's here to stay. I think people are very concerned about what they put into their bodies. And one of the so there are major chains that are now, of course, they're doing bio, or sorry, we call it bio here in Morocco, but organic food, vegan food, all of these things. And halal is just one of those evolutions down the road of meeting consumer demand. And again, it's not just Muslims. The Muslim population is expected to double by 2030, according to the most recent research that's available on that. But it's not just Muslims who want it. And I have to say, if you want to find out the difference between halal meat and non-halal meat, come to our panel where we'll have some chefs talk about the flavor and the quality and what the difference is. Because once you taste the difference, I don't think you're going to go back.
And
Hopefully
to add,
not.
to
Yeah,
add
go
to
ahead.
that, the halal meat tastes better because it's a humane way of slaughtering the animal. It's a stress-free way. We make sure the animal is not abused before and during the process. There is a major move, push toward avoiding the machine slaughter or the stunning before, or even the animal should not see another animal being slaughtered. All of these things affect the animals, the meat that it brings to your table at the end.
Absolutely. I'm sure my daughter is going to love to hear this part of the conversation. Please stay put. You are watching to Peace Mindedly podcast, a show we feature peaceful bridge makers. We celebrate Muslimhood, we celebrate Muslim women, and we celebrate peace, prosperity, and lifestyle of Muslims within our podcast and the show that we are presenting. We have had many experts, Aisha, Chaudhry talked about the color of God and how Muslim feminism is taking stage on explaining what is male hierarchy and what is the Islam's response to that. Celine Ibrahim talks about how and in what way Quran really discusses women within the text, and we have had many other guests. Sunara Jha is talking about how to raise a feminist son, and today we are talking with executives of Halal Expo and Summit 2020, and we are talking about, so what is Halal Expo, what is halal lifestyle, and why we need these kind of concepts to be explained and to be argued within the US society. Marwan Ahmad is the president of American Halal Council, organizer of Halal Expo Summit, and CEO of US Halal Consultant. And Elisabeth Myers is a co-founder and executive vice president of US Halal Consultant, and also one of the organizers and hosts for Expo and Summit USA. Okay, so I want to know that why do we need Expo to showcase Muslim business owners? Can't they reach out and create the market for themselves? Do they need extra help? So what is it, Marwan?
Well, quick correction. Actually, I would say 30 to 40% of our business exhibitors are non-Muslim owned. The largest halal producers in the US are owned by non-Muslims. Back to your point of Muslim purchasing power, they do realize that purchase power and they want to tap into the market. The expo is a place where businesses, experts, academics, and the business owners can come together to network, learn, and also do business transaction during and after the event.
During and after the event. So I would like to ask the same question from you, Elisabeth. So why would you think that we need an expo to showcase Muslim owners, businesses who run by Muslims?
Well, because we're showcasing it not just to Muslims, but to non-Muslims. And I have to say, one of the best things, or one of the most tasty things that I found in our expo 2 years ago was all the free samples that we got. So that we had a lot of Malaysian companies, and they were producing things like, I guess milk tea, which since I grew up in England, I'm a tea drinker mostly. And this kind of resonated. It was just a packet of tea that you pour into your cup with hot water. It's already got the milk mixed in, and unusual things that Americans
It's
don't usually
delicious.
have, and snacks that are have a particularly Asian flavor. It's the free samples were wonderful, and really, you're going to love the cooking shows. We're going to have some cooking demonstrations that you can actually taste the food. And so, this is the hands-on experience. There's nothing like it. We had a virtual experience last year, which was pretty good. But when our chef put the dish up in front of the camera like this, you couldn't really smell it or taste it, right? So you need to be there. And also, business is transacted face to face. You get to know people, you get to trust people. So all of these factors are why we need an expo and why we need to have it mostly in person. And of course, we will be observing the appropriate sanitary protocols to protect people's health while they're there.
Yes, where can we find information? How can we learn more about the expo, Marwan?
Well, our website, halalexpousa.com, has all the information for visitors and businesses to learn about the event, the place, the timing of it, and how they can reach us if they need more details.
Okay, very good. So tell me about some of the businesses who are showcasing their product. Can you give me a few names?
So this year we're happy that one of our main sponsors is the Halal Guys, the largest halal franchise in the US.
Oh, I got to tell you, Marwan, I got to tell you this one. I mean, this is exciting. I was in Chicago. I was doing a lecture in Chicago, and then I was just so hungry walking down the huge bean in at the center of the Chicago, and I saw a long line. It was just more than 200 people. And then I said, what is this? Why you are I mean, standing here? And say, this is Halal Guide. And I said, Halal Guy? It was the first time. It was 7, 8 years ago. Halal Guy? They said, yes, Halal Guy. They give lots of food and it's very delicious. You don't believe me. It was 200 people on the line. I'm sorry. I just have to tell you this story.
Yeah, no, I absolutely, and we're thrilled that they believe in what we're doing and they're supporting the event, and they're going to be there. Come down, you might get some free samples. We have other sponsors. We have the new established Islamic Bank Fair, FinTech, who is an online Islamic bank that offers Islamic certified loans, home loans, business loans, and family banking for individuals and families. We also have the Deen Halal, which is also a non-Muslim owned meat company that produce halal meat, and others. The list can go on and on. We will be announcing the complete list maybe a week or 10 days before the event. But there's so many exciting products, not just limited to food.
Yes, and hopefully you can grow as big as people come here to the US and not go to GCC or any other of those areas. Stay put with me. You're watching and listening to Peace Mindedly, a podcast featuring peaceful bridge makers. You know the deal for our show. At the end of every program, we ask our guests to share a meaningful statement, prayer, childhood story, anything that relates to peace, to kindness and compassion. I'm going to start with Elisabeth and then we go to Marwan.
So, as an educator, I'm also an adjunct professor at my law school. I'm really, with greater understanding and tolerance comes peace. I'm really honored to be amongst your peaceful bridge makers. And I guess there are a couple of quotes that resonate with me. One is by Albert Einstein, and peace cannot be achieved by force. It can only be achieved by understanding. And then another one by Martin Luther King, very, very, very amazing peacemaker in his lifetime. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. And again, hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. So think upon those things and peace be with you.
Inshallah, Marwan.
I don't know if I can outdo Elizabeth, but the whole reason we started this event is to bridge between people and communities. One of the sessions we'll be discussing is halal, is it faith or business? And it's a combination between both, because faith brings understanding and peace, tranquility, and we wanted to share this with everybody. We don't want it just to keep it to ourselves. Knowledge is power. Peace is powerful as well as a mean and a method to bring people together. And we want to use all these tools in order to make people understand that eating halal food is the best way to come together.
Yes, halal food. I am all about halal tourism and many of the things, the modest fashion, many of the things that is happening within the Muslim community that we can be proud and we are proud of. So thank you so much for the engagement. Really appreciate your contribution to this show. You can find lots of information about Halal Expo, and Summit USA 2021 by going to the website, and also as Elisabeth said, to just be there, try to be there and to eat the food, especially the food. Thank you so much, and thanks for sharing your time with us. Khuda Hafiz.
Thank you for having us.
Khuda Hafiz.